our panelists now for a wrap-up discussion. We've got Nicholas Warren from CSO and EDX. We've also got Nabil Bukhari, the CTO of Extreme Networks. Adrian Hillier, consultant with TTP. And Maria Lemma, the founder and CEO of Weaver Labs. Welcome, everybody. To get started, I guess I'll just go in this order. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your current company role and how you are overall approaching digital twins.
Sure. Well, Maria here, founder of Weaver Labs. We ended up working with digital twins by kind of like sheer necessity or essentially something that one of our users kind of asked us to do. Essentially, we built a software tool for network management that essentially what creates is an open marketplace of telecoms assets and to transact with it. So yeah, I'll explain you a little bit more how our customers integrate with them.
Great. Adrian?
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Adrian Hillier from TTP. We're a technology consulting and product development company in the UK. And we're using digital twin technology to look at a very specific problem for the satellite operators who are looking at defining next generation space services for direct access 5G.
Great. All right, cool. My name is Nabil Bukhari. I'm the Chief Technology and Product Officer for Extreme Networks. And I think I'm slightly different than the other people here because our goal is to bring digital twin technologies to the enterprises directly. So we are a market leader in the enterprise networks and pretty much leading the pack in terms of cloudifying the enterprise networks all the way from data center all the way to the edge. And we really believe that we can bring digital twins to enterprises directly in an easy-to-use way and then just change the way enterprise networking is done. So interesting stuff, long journey ahead.
Great.
Yes, my name is Nicholas Warren. My background is as a subject matter expert in digital twins. So I had the pleasure of working with digital twins now for 5-6 years in construction, healthcare, Industry 4.0, basically in all industries. Also working with AI, machine learning, and of course also the metaverse. And EDX as a company is the #1 solution provider for wireless planning in the US. And we've seen that it's really, really hard, has been hard to composite this, fragmented information from planning. And we saw, a lot of the slides happen, covering the entire life cycle. So we have actually digital twins operating for the last couple of years, where we can bring in 50,000 cell towers, understand what it looks like in an afternoon. That's, of course, not the full capabilities of digital twins, but it's not this massive undertaking. You said long journey ahead. Of course, it will be to reach all the capabilities, but I think getting started and getting going is really, really important, and I think that's what we do at EDX, allow people to get started and look at wireless networks and then get going with digital twinning.
Great. Actually, I'll continue with you and ask, so we've seen the big picture vision of everything these can do. One of the things I'm always struck with is exactly that question of how you start and how you start strategically, and actually our intro panelist also set this up.
Yep.
How have you started? Would you start the same way if you were to do it over again? And what do you see as the kind of most immediate value places that I guess most clients could start?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question, and I'm again, working group leader we're starting up a working group for telecoms industry in Digital Twin Consortium, and that's actually the question, right? How do you get started? Why digital twins, and how much does it cost? Those are always like the first key points. And I think what we've seen from EDX is that we want to start with the planet. Where in the planet are you actually operating in? It could be in Turkey, is it in Sweden, is it in Catalonia, is it in the entire US? So we built up a global digital twin because we could see that everyone is buying these assets, the map data. And they're buying it, and 6 months later, 1 year later, it's out of date. So what we did, we take a subscription service, package satellite data, and then allow customers to provide drone surveys, whatever is important to them, GIS data, existing asset information, and layer that in the platform that is contextual to them. Whether it's in a city, entire the US, 200,000 cell towers from top-tier industries, it doesn't really matter. So it starts from where the customer is and providing, again, an interface, not really dashboards, but actual reality to bring people together, because that's where it starts. You have to identify who's involved in what and who's responsible, and that's the starting point. And then you can identify, okay, what are the problems here? Is it with IoT? Is it with mesh? Is it with O-RAN? Where do we need to focus on? But if you don't get people to understand and be on the same page, it's actually impossible to get going, right? So that's the starting point, where the reality is, where the customers, and then pinpointing in how to bring those assets in and creating this first digital twin that, again, represent reality, feeds real-time data to get started. And that is not necessarily a massive undertaking. It doesn't need complete data governance structures. It won't take years. Well, it shouldn't. And that's, again, what we do.
Great. I'll actually cut over to Maria then, because I think your company, ours as well, started kind of more from the physical asset base. One of the things that interests me about your work is you're starting from the business problem of the kind of multi-vendor marketplace side. So maybe if you could tell us a little more deeply what led you to the digital twin coming from that market perspective.
Sure. So initially, and I agree 100% with you, it has to be very simple at the beginning, right? So our business was all about digitizing telecoms assets to put them into a marketplace so they can be easily accessed, rented, and anyone can access this infrastructure as a service using blockchain technology. And then when we went to create a smart city network, it took me 9 months to understand what was in a cabinet, if there was power, if there was actually access to fiber, what were in the shelves, do I have a swing frame, do I not? And it was the pandemic, so I couldn't travel there to do a survey of the cabinets that we were using to install the equipment. So essentially, it was a necessity to say, if we're digitizing network assets, such as a 5G network or anything, why not just digitize the stuff that we use to build networks? So we started collecting all of that data, putting it into a standard format using civil engineering formats. And for public sector, that started showing a lot of great use cases, so much that we expanded that data into bus shelters, traffic lights, ducting, all of the data, all of the assets that we use to build networks.
Great. And maybe to Nabil next. We've got such a variety of use cases here. It's great. So Nabil, on the enterprise side, I mean, clearly you're not worrying about bus shelters, but how do you get from, let's say, a traditional enterprise view of networking to a digital twin?
Yeah, enterprise networking has some similarity and some dissimilarities to the service provider network. One thing is it's not as standardized as the service provider side of the equation, right? I mean, like one vendor's APs don't really work with anybody else, right? So it's more siloed that way. But then at the same time, on the customer side, the customer is perhaps not as sophisticated as a telco, and they obviously don't have as much money as telcos. So the problem statement is a little bit different. So we started with, like, what is it that we're trying to figure out? What is it we're trying to help them with? And the first thing was, well, how do you plan it, roll it out? How do you reduce the staging time? And one was, how do you train your people, right? And then the pandemic hit, and then everybody just sat there, everybody ordered a lot of equipment, and then they were like, okay, well, 20 months later, we'll get it, and then we'll stage it, and we'll train it. But then we said, like, well, you don't really need to wait for that, because we will give you the digital twin of every single device in our portfolio, and we have a very, very broad portfolio. Then the next problem was like, okay, well, the moment you say digital twin to an enterprise network or an enterprise IT operator, that's it. You've lost them, right? They want to just walk out and just run away. So we were like, look, you're already used to managing your network through our cloud interface because we are the leaders in the cloudification of enterprise network. That device looks and behaves exactly the same way. We didn't even tell them that this is a digital twin to start with, right? So that's how we got started on them. But then we found a really interesting use case for ourselves and our customers in terms of this continuous deployment and continuous development, because it's all cloudified. The enterprise networks are a little bit farther along when it comes to cloudification of the network than the telco side. And that's where we really saw the advantage. I mean, we did a study internally. We increased the quality by about 30% and reduced the time to market by about 27% in one of our largest Fortune 50 enterprise customer by using digital twins. So we kind of took an angle from like, what problems are we solving, and didn't really talk about digital twins to start with, because that scares everybody.
It started with customers. So the space business is famously rocket science. They call it rocket science for a reason. It's clearly innovating further, but it also has higher risks. How did that affect your approach in bringing to market a digital twin in that space?
Sure. So I think we very early approached our most recent project with our satellite operator clients, realizing that the digital twin was really going to be a platform to explore the continuing relationship between the physics and the economics of what they were trying to achieve. And by creating a skillfully designed digital twin, we were able to help our clients, like the CTO part of our clients' organization, interact with the product managers, interact with the people who are defining next generation services and building out the economics of those services. I'll give you one specific example, if I may, be really quick. Looking at the performance of antenna technologies for connected cars and for connected devices, that is a direct feed through into the economics of delivery, of service delivery for a satellite network. So helping our clients understand whether they need to build into their service delivery model, perhaps some post-fitting of specialist satellite antennas for connected vehicles. That makes a big difference to the economics of their service delivery and the efficiency of their network.
Great. Well, I feel like we're just getting warmed up, but we have 20 seconds left in the session. So I guess I will thank all the panelists. You can come find any of us. I think we're all here for the week. So appreciate the opportunity to present to you, and hope to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.